All right, while the FBI searched President Biden's Rehoboth Beach home earlier today, where they found no classified information, our next guest says he believes Biden's son, Hunter, was in proximity to classified documents found at the other home in Delaware, next to the Corvette, maybe, or somewhere else in the House. Joining us now is the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Kentucky Congressman James Comer. Congressman, good to see you.
Good to see you, Sean.
So, look, I want to start with this because I saw that you sent a letter to Hunter's art dealer, this guy, George Burgess, I think his name is, asking for information on who bought this art. Now, you would think that because Hunter's never been in the art world, he's never painted anything before, that when you start posting these things between $55,000 and $225,000, and it's all kind of secrecy, hidden behind the wall, foreign potential buyers, no accountability, that would maybe raise a red flag. So here's my question for you, though. Because this guy's a private citizen, do you, as chairman of the House Oversight Committee, now that you guys are in the majority, have the authority to compel a response and get to the bottom of this?
Well, it's a part of our overall investigation of Biden family influence peddling. So we have proof that the son, who's always been in the private sector, has worked closely and utilized his family name and family connections in the government to enrich himself. So I think that he's going to be unsuccessful at the end of the day in playing the private sector card, because the whole business model revolves around his last name and the fact that his dad can open doors and help navigate the bureaucracy for all these shady business deals and shady business partners he's had with our adversaries around the world.
But just to be clear, you want the art dealer to give you the buyers' names, right?
Right, because we're concerned that there's a pattern here, Sean. If you look at the money that Hunter Biden made with respect to the Burisma in Ukraine and the CEFC in China, there's just a lot of a pattern here where money flows from our adversaries around the world into Biden accounts. Now we've seen with the Biden Center for Diplomacy. A big percentage of that is funded through Chinese donations, many of them anonymous donations. Many of the wire transfers that he received in his business accounts were anonymous wire transfers. So what we have here with the art gallery is a situation where the current president of the United States' son has been selling art to anonymous art buyers, we believe in China, and we have very good reason to believe that was from China. So why won't they disclose that? I mean, even Obama's ethics chief has said that it's preposterous to sell art from someone like Hunter, who's never been an artist before, at these prices and not disclose who the buyers are.
Well, speaking of a pattern, Congressman, the FBI searched Biden's Rehoboth Beach home this morning, we understand. Apparently, they found nothing. But the president was at that very same home less than 2 weeks ago, the same time that the FBI was searching his Wilmington home. Your reaction to him being in that home just 2 weeks ago, knowing that they have been cooperating with the FBI?
The arrogance of the Biden family knows no bounds. I mean, do they think we're idiots? Do they think that Joe Biden hasn't gone through the home and his personal lawyers haven't gone through the home dozens of times in advance of the federal authorities searching their homes? Of course they did. I mean, it's crazy to think that, this was done just the same manner that President Biden's raid was done. It's not. This is another perfect example of a two-tier system of justice. We learned yesterday from sitting down with a transcribed interview with the general counsel of the National Archives that they've treated Donald Trump very differently than they've treated Joe Biden. Not in addition to raiding Mar-a-Lago versus letting Joe Biden's personal attorneys, who we don't know who they are, much less who their clients are, go through and scavenge around and try to clean up any mess and hide any damaging evidence before they go in and say, oh, everything looks good here. Remember, we wouldn't even know about these documents that Joe Biden had if somebody hadn't leaked them to CBS News. They've never been transparent. And when it did get out that they had documents that were turned in, that were classified, over 60 days after they were turned in, they still didn't tell us that the FBI had searched the Biden Center after that. So we found that out because of another anonymous tip to a media outlet. So this administration just not being truthful, and a lot of times, Sean, the cover-up is worse than the crime.
Yeah, I just want to give you one thing to think about, and I don't want you to react to it, but I said this when it first happened. I don't know any lawyer that looks in garages and cleans up boxes. They always said the lawyers found them there. I got to wonder who found them first before the lawyers did, because lawyers just don't hang out in garages looking for classified documents. And I think we're still missing a lot of pieces of this puzzle as far as why the lawyers were in the garage hanging out near the Corvette looking for classified documents. It was obvious that somebody else found them. We need to know who that person is, because they probably don't have a clearance. But I do want to ask you, switch subjects, though, because last night a group of your colleagues were on the House floor talking about censorship and Newsmax being deplatformed. Governor DeSantis in Florida says that Congress should hold hearings on Newsmax being deplatformed. McCarthy, the speaker, has been on this show. He's outraged by this. Here's the question I have for you. I get that Energy and Commerce is probably the primary committee of jurisdiction. You've got a lot on your plate, but you can have oversight over anything you want. Is there a temperature or an appetite among you and your committee members for looking into the censorship of conservative media and actions like this that affect outlets like Newsmax getting out to the American people, a lot of the work that people like you are doing?
Well, I'm certainly outraged that DirecTV has dropped Newsmax. I've spoken with your CEO at Newsmax. I've also spoken with representatives from DirecTV, and I've encouraged them. I have strongly encouraged them to try to work this agreement out very quickly, because I've reminded them that the majority of members of my committee, who are the most well-known members of Congress, are very outraged, and they're demanding congressional hearings. So I haven't threatened hearings, but I've made it very clear with DirecTV that I expect this to be worked out very soon, because I don't like getting involved in private negotiations. But there does seem to be a pattern, Sean, among a lot in the media and big tech in censoring conservative platforms and some conservative networks. So we're going to have a committee hearing next week with some former Twitter officials to talk about this very issue of censoring conservative speech on big tech platforms. And, the same could be said about many of the media platforms as well, the TV media platforms.
Awesome. Thank you.
Chairman Comer, we appreciate your time this evening and speaking to that. Hope to have you back soon.
Thanks for having me on.